I was born with a rebellious streak. I literally can't understand what people want from me. My foster mother said my brother could go to school. But I couldn't because he had something extra that I didn't have. So that night, I took the scissors and cut it right off him. My foster parents were furious. They beat me senseless and gave me to the old bachelor in the village. I put rat poison in his dinner. That same day, the old pervert ended up in the hospital and I got sent back home. My foster parents refused to feed me, saying they'd starve me to death. Fine, then. If I can't eat, nobody eats. I ran to the fields and burned every damn crop in the village to the ground. So when my biological parents finally found me, the whole village was celebrating with drums and firecrackers. My foster mother grabbed my mom's hands, tears streaming down her face. Your daughter's got serious mental issues. You better get her brain checked. My mom didn't understand what she meant at the time. Not until I got home, and their adopted daughter started her sob story right in front of me. Pearl, your old room gets the most sunlight and I'm used to it now. Can you let me have it, please? I looked at her with pity. Megan, will you die without sunlight? No. Megan spread her hands. But the doctor said, I have poor circulation. I need 8 hours of sunlight every day. So you'll have to make do with the maid's room. I need the other rooms too. She said this like some plantation mistress informing the help. She didn't even wait for my response before having my stuff thrown into the maid's quarters. Looking at her retreating figure, I laughed and I went to the hardware store and bought 18 space heaters. In the dead of night, I snuck into Megan's room. First, I slipped a sleeping pill into her mouth. Then placed all the heaters around her bed. Cranked every single one to maximum. Then plugged them all in. An hour later, Megan let out a pig-like squeal. She was nearly roasted alive. Her whole body red, her face covered in angry welts. Mom and Dad rushed her to the hospital overnight. When they got back and checked the security footage, they discovered I was the culprit. Before dawn, I was dragged out of bed. Dad's face was black with rage, as he demanded to know why I set up the heaters. To help her get better. I yawned. She said she needs sunlight for her circulation. I was just trying to speed up her recovery. Dad pressed down his fury. What about the sleeping pill? I blinked innocently. I was worried she couldn't handle it. If she's asleep, she won't feel the heat. Unfortunately, Dad didn't praise my thoughtfulness. Was shaking with rage, too choked up to speak. Mom rubbed his back while telling me to stop talking. They forced me to promise I'd apologize to Megan at the hospital. Seeing them both about to pass out from anger, I nodded. The next morning, I bought a fruit basket at the market and followed Mom to the hospital. Once in the room, I apologized to Megan. Just then, the doctor needed Mom's signature. So she left the room. The second she was gone, Megan's expression changed. First she made me peel an orange for her. After I handed it over, she smiled at me. Pearl, you know what? Mom and Dad love me more. Right after you were kidnapped, they went to the orphanage and adopted me. For 5 years, they never mentioned you to me. Night before you came back, they couldn't sleep from worry. If your own parents don't even like you, how pathetic is your life? If I were you, I'd go back to that hillbilly dump so I wouldn't be such a burp. She didn't get to finish that last word before I slapped it back down her throat. I jumped on her, slapping left and right, smack. Smack, smack. After several hits, Megan finally found her voice and started wailing. But before I could really get into it, someone yanked me off. Pearl. What the hell are you doing? I looked up. It was my brother, whom I hadn't seen in ages. Yesterday when I got home, Mom and Dad said he was on a business trip. I spotted the small suitcase by the door. He must have come straight from the airport. But judging by how worked up he was, he clearly wasn't here for my homecoming. Sure enough, after checking Megan's injuries, he pointed at my nose and cursed. Are you insane? I told him, nope. Megan started crying beside him. Brad, What should I do? Pearl really doesn't like me at all. I just asked her about her past life and she started hitting me. Maybe I should just move out. Her tears had Brad's heart breaking. He grabbed my wrist with a cold face. Apologize. I was confused. Why? Because you scared her. Brad was furious. He didn't do anything to you. And you just hit her for no reason. Shouldn't you? He didn't finish his sentence. I pulled out a voice recorder from my pocket. I played everything from when Megan asked for the orange to when I slapped her. The room fell silent instantly. Megan's face went from white to red. Brad's face went from red to white. He looked at Megan with a frown. How could you say those things to her? Megan looked utterly wrong. I didn't mean it. I was just joking with Pearl. I thought any normal person wouldn't believe that. But Brad did. He turned back to me. Pearl, you hurt her. She was just joking. Megan is still your sister. As the older one, can't you be more tolerant? Instead of making a big deal out of everything. I thought about it and said, okay. Seeing my attitude soften. Brad's did, too. He came over and gave me a hug, welcoming me home. Then he made me delete the recording, warning me not to play it for our parents. Mom and Dad have been blaming themselves for losing you. Let's just not bring up the past in front of them. Let's move on. I knew he wasn't worried about our parents being hurt. He was worried they'd blame Megan if they found out. But I deleted it anyway after slapping her. I wasn't angry about those words anymore. Right after I deleted it, Mom came back seeing Megan's swollen pig face. She was surprised. Under Brad's smooth talking, she believed Megan had accidentally bumped into something. Mom told Brad the doctor said Megan could be discharged. But there was an issue at the company she needed to handle. Brad would need to do the discharge paperwork and drive us both home. Brad was more than happy to do things for Megan. An hour later, Brad finished the paperwork. As he was about to get us in the car, Megan cried out. Brad immediately asked, "What's wrong?" Megan pointed at me. Then at the back seat. "Brad, I still have wounds on my face. The doctor said I can't be in the wind. Pearl has the smell on her that makes me sick. I want to throw up." She actually dry heaved twice, her eyes instantly reddening. It's probably from where she lived before. I'm not disgusted by Pearl. I just really feel sick right now. Can Pearl take a cab home or walk? It's only 5 miles anyway. I stood there silently watching Brad frown. He actually thought about it for a few seconds, then looked at me. "Pearl, why don't you sure?" I agreed before he could finish. I and walk back, but I want to leave something in your car. Brad looked relieved and opened the door. What do you want to leave? I smiled and pulled out a lighter from my pocket, lit it and tossed it in. Just a little fire. Brad's car must have been decorated by Megan. It was full of stuffed animals. The moment the lighter went in, those toys instantly caught fire. The flames shot up high. By the time Mom and Dad got the news and rushed over, the car was just a burnt skeleton. I looked at Brad and Meg and huddled together, pale with fear. Then at my expressionless face. They finally remembered what my foster mother had told them. The 4 of them agreed, forget the car. First, get my head examined. Mom and Dad took me to the city's best psychiatric hospital. After a series of tests and evaluations, the specialist told them I had classic antisocial personality disorder. Mom burst into tears on the spot. Dad held his forehead, sighing repeatedly. Brad stood aside, his face dark as iron. Just then, Megan spoke. Up weakly. "Mom. Dad, Brad. Don't worry. Yet I happen to know a really good psychiatrist. An expert from abroad who just opened a practice here. He specializes in treating these kinds of special cases. Those words everyone grabbed onto. Hope like a lifeline. Mom and Dad told her to contact him immediately. Brad even patted her shoulder appreciatively. My Megan always comes through. Only I watched her quietly. knowing she wasn't that kind-hearted. A few days later, Megan told our parents she'd contacted the doctor. But the doctor had a peculiar personality. Only one family member could observe each session. Since Megan made the contact, naturally only she would accompany me. Megan didn't take me to any psychology clinic. She took me to a remote dog training facility on the outskirts of town. As soon as we got out of the car, she showed her true colors. The weakness was gone, replaced by vicious triumph. This is it. I looked around calmly. Calling this place a dog training facility was insulting to facilities. It was just a dog pound. Behind us were rows of iron cages. The vicious dogs inside barking wildly. What else actually find you a doctor? Megan sneered. Look at what you are. You think you deserve to see a specialist? I asked her. Aren't you afraid Mom and Dad will find out? She scoffed. You're a mental patient now. Who's going to believe a crazy person? I asked calmly. Why do you hate me so much? Why else? I just hate you. Her face was venomous. You should have rotted in that village. Rotted with the Johnson family. The moment you came back, all Mom and Dad's attention went to you. You shouldn't have come back. Seeing her so self-righteous, I laughed in disbelief. Why shouldn't I come back? This is my home, Megan. If I hadn't gone missing, do you think Mom and Dad would have given you a second glance? Megan was enraged. You're home. Keep dreaming. I'm the one who's been with Mom, Dad and Brad for 5 years. They already see me as their real daughter. So what if you're back? They think you're dirty. Think you're crazy. Let me tell you, Pearl. If you know what's good for you, crawl back to that hillbilly hole yourself. Otherwise what? I asked. She smiled creepily. I'll make you disappear. Looking at that familiar face, my heart skipped. I instinctively raised my hand to hit her. But halfway up, a large hand grabbed my wrist tightly. At the same time, 2 more men ran out from inside. I was thrown to the ground. My head pressed into the dirt. Seeing this, Megan laughed triumphantly. Pearl, you think I just let you hit me here? She walked over, reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the voice recorder. I knew you'd pull this crap again. Her eyes were vicious. You were trying to get me to confess, weren't you, too? Bad. She slammed the recorder on the ground and crushed it thoroughly with her heel. She crouched down, lifted my chin with her finger, then slapped down hard. Pearl, aren't you antisocial? Don't you like violence? Today I'll give you a proper violent welcome. After several slaps, I tasted blood in my mouth. My breathing became heavy. My whole body excited. Megan, you better kill me today or you won't live to see tomorrow. She paused, then laughed. Lunatics really are lunatics. If you want a beating so badly, I'll satisfy you. Megan stepped back. This is a mad dog. Make sure you train it well. But after they'd only hit me a few times, I suddenly raised my head and gave Megan an extremely eerie smile. That smile sent a chill down her spine. Megan, my voice wasn't loud, but it reached her clearly. What do you think Mom, Dad, and Brad would think if they saw you now and heard what you just said? Megan sneered. Stop trying to scare me. Your recorder is destroyed. When? If you're hurt today, they'll just think you're a mental patient who got into a fight. You're just a violent lunatic. No one will believe you. Oh, really? I tilted my head and pulled out a small device with my free hand. It was a miniature recording device, its indicator light blinking faintly red. Megan's pupils contracted. At the same time police sirens sounded outside. I laughed even louder. Surprise. Even mental patients can call 911. The wail of sirens cut through the desolate air of the dog pound. The 2 thugs holding me froze, their eyes darting toward Megan. You called the cops? Megan shrieked, her face twisting from triumph to panic. You bluffing psycho. When did you have time? I didn't answer. I just kept that eerie smile plastered on my face, watching the color drain from her skin. The heavy iron gates of the facility crashed open. It wasn't just a patrol car, it was a swarm. Blue and red lights painted the dirty cages in a strobe light disco of impending doom. Police. Drop the girl. Hands in the air. The thugs dropped me like a hot coal. I hit the dirt, letting out a sharp, theatrical gasp of pain. Perfect timing. Megan stood frozen, the crushed voice recorder still under her heel. She looked at the police, then at me, and finally, her eyes locked onto the small device in my hand. It wasn't just a recorder. As officers swarmed the thugs, forcing them to the ground, a familiar figure burst from the lead car. It was Dad. Following him were Mom and Brad. They looked like they had seen a ghost. Pearl. Mom screamed, rushing toward the police line. Megan's face lit up with a flicker of hope. She immediately crumpled, tears springing to her eyes as if on a switch. Mom. Dad. Help. Pearl went crazy. She brought me here and hired these men to. Shut up. Dad's roar was so loud it startled the barking dogs into silence. Megan flinched, her mouth hanging open. Dad? Brad walked past the police line, his face a mask of absolute horror. He held up his phone. On the screen, a video was playing. It was a live feed. You didn't just record it, Pearl, Brad whispered, looking down at me as a female officer helped me sit up. You live-streamed it to the family group chat. We heard everything. We saw everything. Megan's knees gave out. She slumped against the chain-link fence. I spat a mouthful of bloody saliva onto the dirt and looked up at my brother. I told you, Brad. I have antisocial personality disorder. We're paranoid. We prepare. I looked at Megan, who was now trembling violently. And you? You're just a amateur. The ride home was suffocatingly silent. I sat in the back seat, a blanket wrapped around my shoulders. My lip was split, and my cheek was swelling, but I refused the hospital. I wanted to go home. I wanted to watch the empire crumble. Megan wasn't with us. She was in the back of a squad car, along with the 2 men she'd hired. Kidnapping, assault, conspiracy. The charges were piling up. When we entered the living room, the atmosphere was funereal. Mom sat on the sofa and wept, her face buried in her hands. Dad poured himself a drink, his hands shaking so hard the scotch splashed onto the mahogany table. Brad stood by the window, staring into the dark. He couldn't look at me. Why? Mom sobbed. We gave her everything. We loved her. You gave her my room, I said, my voice cutting through the weeping. I sat in the single armchair, the king on his throne. You gave her my life. You let her treat me like a dog, and when I fought back, you called me the monster. Dad slammed his glass down. We didn't know, Pearl. She was always so sweet. She was an actress, I said boredly. And you were the audience who applauded while she burned down the theater. Brad finally turned around. His eyes were red. I'm sorry, Pearl. I told you to apologize to her. I almost hit you. Almost, I corrected. You held me while she slapped me. Brad flinched. I didn't know. Ignorance isn't an excuse, big brother. It's an accomplice. I stood up, letting the blanket fall. I'm going to bed. My room. The one with the sunlight. If anyone touches my stuff again, I won't burn a car. I'll burn the house. With everyone inside. They stared at me. For the first time, they didn't look at me with pity or annoyance. They looked at me with pure, unadulterated fear. Good. Fear is safer than love. Megan's biological parents, whoever they were, didn't show up. But our parents hired a lawyer. Not for her. For me. They wanted to ensure Megan stayed locked up. It was a pathetic attempt to buy my forgiveness. They testified against their beloved adopted daughter. They handed over the security footage of her faking injuries, the recording I had saved to the cloud, and the testimony of the thugs who rolled on Megan the second a plea deal was offered. Megan's defense was insanity. She claimed I drove her to it. That my presence destabilized her fragile mind. I sat in the front row of the courtroom every day, staring at her. Whenever she looked at me, I'd mouth one word, boo. The verdict came down 3 months later. Guilty on multiple counts. Because she was technically an adult now, and the premeditation was so vicious, the judge showed no mercy. 10 years. As the bailiffs dragged her away, she didn't scream for mom or dad. She screamed at me. You win, you bitch. You win. But you're still empty. You're still a freak. I waved a little finger at her. Bye-bye, sister. Life returned to the normal, but the dynamic had shifted permanently. Mom and dad walked on eggshells. If I picked up a knife at the dinner table to cut a steak, they stopped chewing. If I laughed at a show on TV, they laughed too, nervously, even if they didn't get the joke. Brad moved out. He couldn't handle the guilt, or maybe he couldn't handle the way I looked at him, like he was a bug I hadn't decided to crush yet. He sent money, gifts, texts begging for forgiveness. I ignored them all. I went back to school. I got straight A's. Not because I cared, but because it was easy. The other students stayed away from me. Rumors fly fast. The girl who burned down a village, the girl who sent her sister to prison. I was a local urban legend. But boredom is a dangerous thing for a mind like mine. 6 months into Megan's sentence, I received a letter. No return address. Just a piece of notebook paper inside. They won't keep me forever. Wait for me. I smiled. Finally, something interesting. 2 years passed. I was 18 now. Legal, independent, and sitting on a trust fund my parents had hastily set up to ensure I wouldn't murder them in their sleep. The news broke on a Tuesday. A fire at the women's correctional facility. In the chaos of the evacuation, 3 inmates went missing. Megan was one of them. Mom and dad panicked. They hired private security. They installed alarms on every window. They wanted to send me to Europe for safety. I'm not going anywhere, I told them, sharpening a pencil with a small pocket knife. Why would I leave the party just when the guest of honor is arriving? Pearl, she's dangerous. Dad pleaded. She has nothing to lose now. Neither do I, Dad. I never did. I waited. I knew Megan. She wouldn't run to Mexico. She wouldn't hide. Her narcissism wouldn't allow her to fade away. She needed a grand finale. She needed to prove she was better than me. She would come back to the house. It happened during a thunderstorm. Cliché, I know, but Megan always did have a flair for the dramatic. The power was cut first. The backup generator didn't kick in, she must have severed the line. Smart girl. She'd learned. I was in the kitchen, eating an apple by the light of a single candle. The security guards outside were silent. Likely dead or incapacitated. Megan wouldn't have come alone, she would have found new friends on the inside. The back door creaked open. I didn't turn around. You're late, Megan. I finished the orange, but I saved you the peel. Lightning flashed, illuminating the kitchen. Megan stood there. She looked different. Thinner. Harder. Her hair was chopped short, and she wore a stolen guard's uniform. She held a gun. You arrogant little witch, she hissed. You think this is a game? Isn't it? I turned slowly. You took my room. I took your freedom. Now you're back to take, what? My life? Everything, she said, her hand shaking slightly. I'm going to kill you, Pearl. Then I'm going to burn this house down with the parents upstairs. I'll disappear. Everyone will think it was you. The psycho daughter finally snapped. Solid plan, I nodded. One problem. What? You still think I'm playing by your rules. I took a bite of the apple. You cut the power, Megan. But you didn't check the gas line. Megan frowned, sniffing the air. The faint scent of rotten eggs hit her. I loosened the valve on the stove about 10 minutes ago, I said casually. The concentration in here is getting toasty. Megan's eyes went wide. She realized why I was eating by candlelight. She realized the flame was the only thing keeping the room from exploding, provided the gas didn't reach the candle. You're bluffing, she stammered. You'd die too. I told you, I stood up, blowing out the candle. The room plunged into pitch blackness. I don't care if I eat. If I don't eat, nobody eats. I clicked the lighter in my pocket. Flick. I didn't ignite the room immediately. I just held the flame, the small light dancing between us. If you shoot, I whispered from the dark, the muzzle flash ignites the gas. We both boom. If you don't shoot, I drop this lighter. We both boom. Megan screamed in the darkness. You're insane. You're actually insane. Tell me something I don't know. I heard her scramble back, fumbling for the door handle. The gun clattered to the floor. She ran. She chose survival over revenge. Predictable. I snapped the lighter shut and walked over to the window. I had turned the gas off before she entered, the smell was just residual fumes from a canister I'd sprayed. There was no leak. Psychological warfare is so much cleaner than explosives. Outside, the sirens were wailing again. I had called them the moment the power went out. Megan made it to the edge of the lawn before the floodlights hit her. She fell to her knees, screaming, clawing at the grass. She was broken. Not by the prison system, but by the realization that she could never, ever beat me. Megan was sent to a maximum security psychiatric ward this time. No parole. No windows. Just 4 padded walls and a jacket that ties in the back. I visit her once a year. I bring her an orange. I sit there and peel it slowly. She doesn't speak. She just rocks back and forth, staring at my hands. Mom and Dad sold the house. They moved to a condo in Florida. They send me checks, but they don't call. They are terrified that one day I'll show up at their door. Brad married a nice girl who knows nothing about us. I wasn't invited to the wedding. I sent a gift, though, a set of very expensive space heaters. I heard Brad had a panic attack when he opened the box. I live in the old house now. The buyers fell through after the rumors spread, so I bought it from my parents for pennies on the dollar. I sit in Megan's old room, my room, bathing in the sunlight. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Some people say I'm a monster. That I'm broken. That I need fixing. But as I sit here, warm and fed, watching the village below where I once burned the crops, I don't feel broken. I feel like I won. And really, in this dog-eat-dog world, isn't that all that matters?